Now, obviously the Rachel relation, or not
Lisa?
Rachel, Lisa relationship didn't work out, and then there was a time period he really wasn't seeing anybody, and then Mimi came into the picture. What did you think about her? And that
I didn't
whole
know a lot about her.
relationship?
She seems like a really nice girl. He showed me her picture on Facebook, you know. I don't think she had a lot of pictures on there. He said that he's not sure why, but he's pretty sure that she could be it. And I was happy for him. I didn't find out about Lisa.
This conversation you had face to face with him?
Yeah,
or-
yeah, it was in his
Okay.
room. And he had his laptop, you know, just on his bed. I didn't find out about Lisa until after we had this conversation where we decided to all just come clean. And that was quite a conversation. Because I was never unfaithful, but there, you know, when we started dating that timeline around February, the reason I remember February is because he had told me in December, you know, go date other people kind of thing. And so I did. It was January 10th that I went on a date with my friend John for lunch. We just went out and had sushi. Nothing romantic happened.
Yeah.
We didn't hold hands. We didn't kiss. I think we hugged.
Yeah.
And I guess it was considered a date because he asked me and I accepted and he paid for it. And that was in Pasadena.
Yeah, if you pay for it, it's a date.
Yeah, that was in Pasadena. And the following evening, I went out with my friend Abe, and he drinks. He just got like a Maker's Mark, I think, is what is his drink, and I got cranberry juice, and we just talked forever about it. He talked about politics, which
Well,
is
these guys in the Marine Corps or something?
they're both in prepaid legal. John Dixon is not in prepaid legal anymore. He's moved on to other ventures.
No, but the Marine Corps, are they in the service at all?
No.
Okay.
Abe is he's a little bit older. He's just sort of a businessman.
Okay.
Has a background in, I don't remember, production or something.
And this is during the time that you guys were broken up, or
This is
still
bef-
kind of going
I'm
out?
sorry, this was before we started dating.
Okay.
The reason I say this is because he told me a few times, he told me during that conversation too, that he's like, you seem to have a very convenient timeline for when we started dating. Because I used to ask him, like, when did we actually start dating?
Mhm.
Because I figured if we ever made it to a year, we might as well celebrate.
Mhm.
And he's like, I'm not really sure. And the reason I think it was February 2nd is because do you know of Chris and Sky Hughes?
Mhm.
Okay. I used to spend a lot of time at their house, and you know, they're a wonderful family. And Sky she's somebody that I really opened up to, and you know, I told her a little bit how I just wasn't sure about Travis at the time, and I wasn't sure what was going on there, and she wrote in this long letter. Or she didn't write a letter, Travis wrote the letter, but she kind of got on his case, and they told me all kinds of things about Travis that I wasn't aware of.
What kind of stuff are you talking about?
They said if I don't get away from Travis, I'm gonna become just like Deanna, which is his other ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know, do you want to waste 6 years of your life waiting for him?
Because you can't commit.
He still tells Deanna, I love you, and I was like, what? You know, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I truly believe he does love her still.
Oh, he
but
does.
Travis
loves her
had
a
a, he's what you call a player. You know what that means?
Yeah.
Yeah. He kind of
He doesn't
pulls
intend
girls
to hurt
in,
anybody, though.
but he can't make a commitment. He portrays himself to be a certain way,
The-
but he's really not. Okay. He portrays himself to have a lot of money. He's not. He doesn't have a lot of money.
He's got a lot of things. He
Yeah.
told me the first night that the first night that I met him, or it was the second night, it was at the MGM Grand. He invited me to this executive director banquet. And, you know, he was kind of talking about what his earnings were the last year and how he almost made his 6 figures and that kind of thing. And then he leans in and he goes, in this business, you have to show off your money a little bit. And in prepaid legal, it is. People want to
Yeah.
see that you're actually being successful. So, you know,
That's
he's
what
done a
the
good
business is
job with
about.
that.
It's about making money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so Chris and Sky were just, by the end of the conversation, they started calling me Deanna. And I was just like shocked. I didn't want to, the last thing I wanted.
How did you feel about that?
My biggest concern was losing respect in their eyes because I really, really looked up to them. And I thought I would have laughed it off, and I thought it was kind of funny, but I feared inside that I was losing their respect.
Mm-hmm.
So when I talked to him next, I was like, you know, what do I do? What do I say? And he ended up writing this long, long, long letter to Sky saying, I just got off the phone with a very reluctant to talk to me Jodi, you know? And she wrote back saying something to the effect like, you know, I wouldn't want my sister to date you. Why do you kiss Jodi in the dark and then act like you guys aren't even together in the daytime? Things like that.
That's a good statement, because that kind of sums up the relationship that you had with him. It seems like
Especially,
he liked you, he loved you. He wanted to be with you, but he was reluctant to make a commitment first off. And truly, he didn't think that you were marriage material. And I don't know why not. I mean, I see you. You're a wonderful girl. You're struggling. You're trying to make your way through life, and I don't see why you guys couldn't have made it.
I think we have very different philosophies on a lot of ways. We would argue about the dumbest things, and like he would just want me to admit that he was right, and I would happily do that.
Well, that's
but
a man thing.
And I should have just known better and admitted that. I eventually learned how to argue with Travis, and it's
Talk
yes,
to my
Travis.
wife. She's like, okay, fine, you're right.
Yeah,
You know,
eventually that's what I began to do with him. It's like the more I just agree with him, the sooner the argument gets over, and the sooner we can make up. And the makeup was always great. But there were so many times where I just couldn't wrap my mind around what he would. I could, but I would try to get him to do the same for me. Like there was a time when I broke down on the way to LA once when I was going to watch Chris Hughes do a training, and this was January, mid-January maybe of 2007. And my car got a flat tire, so I had at the time roadside assistance because my car was still under warranty. And they went to take the car in to change the tire and realized that when they sold me the car, they didn't give me the wheel lock key.
Oh,
So
yeah.
for anti-theft, there was wheel locks. So I had to get a hotel room. I had to get my car towed. It was a big nightmare. And I was kind of hungry. It was dinner time. It was 7:38, and it was dark because it was January. And the tow truck guy said, you know, there's a Denny's 2 blocks down here, and there's a Jack in the Box there, and he was driving me to the motel. I said, is there an IHOP around? Because I really like IHOP. He's like, yeah, but it's kind of like 5 miles back in the other direction. I was like, okay. He's like, I can drive you there if you want. And I was like, he's like this short Mexican guy, and he seemed really harmless, and I was like, okay. And he, you know, and I asked him about his life, and he had a wife and kids, and so he wasn't flirting, or he had a girlfriend or something, I don't remember.
Just trying to be nice to you.
Just being nice. And so I ended up telling him, and he didn't ever come on me or ever say anything inappropriate, and then he drove me back and dropped me off, and that was that. And I got to eat. And so I told that to Travis, and he didn't say anything at first, but it got back to Sky, and Sky was like, why didn't you call me? And then I think eventually that was used against me to establish a pattern that I do weird things like that. So that's something we had arguments about a lot, was he's like, I just think that
So he was truly upset with you about that. He
And-
felt a little jealous, but
he told me once that he was a little bit jealous when he found out that I went on those dates. He's like, but I know we're not dating. And he's like, I guess I am a little bit jealous. But with these other incidences, he said it just concerns him.
okay.
Because he thought that I would get myself into a situation where I'd get hurt because I have that sort of attitude. And I was really, since I joined Prepaid, I've been really trying to break out of my bubble and do things that are a little uncomfortable as far as talking to people. And, you know, I made a resolution this year to overcome a few fears that I have that I'm really scared of. So I think that by getting into that a little, then I can, you know, overcome some of that. But he did act jealous, but he wouldn't say he was jealous. He would just say he
But
was
he would
concerned.
tell other people about it.
What do you mean?
Did he tell Sky Hughes?
Oh yeah, I guess it got.
Chris about
I
it?
may have told Sky about that.
But they probably had a conversation with him, and he probably voiced his opinion
They had
on how
many
he didn't like it.
conversations. I know that him and Sky had a lot of fights and arguments, and I was the root of that a lot of time. But I think, you know, all in all, they, especially more recently, they got along a lot better. And I think she gave him a really hard time about our relationship, so that's one of the reasons he really wanted to keep it under wraps.
So, you know, moving over to his trip to Cancun that he was going to, when did you first find out about that he was going with Mimi?
Oh, I found out about that at his memorial services on Monday It was the Monday night memorial service.
So you didn't know that he was going to Cancun?
I knew he was going, yeah.
Okay. You didn't know he was taking Mimi?
I didn't know that. I think that's awesome, actually.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Mimi had called him a week or two before, and I told him, look, if you want to take somebody else, it's fine, but I have something to tell you. I don't look at you that way. I don't look at you as a boyfriend. If you want to be friends, we can be friends. And that really broke his heart.
I know. I mean, he didn't tell me that, but I found out from his bishop afterward when I talked to his bishop. And his bishop did say that Travis really took that one hard, and he said he took it to heart. And he said he realizes that it's, speaking from a bishop's perspective, he said it's because, you know, Mimi is of a certain caliber when it comes to her spirituality, and Travis was just in another place.
He's struggling. And that's something he struggled with for a long time.
Well, I feel responsible for that partly.
Why do you feel responsible?
Because I wasn't, I mean, I had moved away, but I had participated with him in so many things that kept us both down spiritually for a long time. I mean, if I had just cut ties completely, I could probably be married right now. I could probably be working on my own family.
What kept you
him
there?
too.
What kept you to him? I don't understand.
Well, moving is expensive for one. So once I was there, I was kind of stuck there.
But why do you continue to go back to him? You know what he wants. You know that it's not healthy, but yet you continue to go back. And it brings us to this point where we are now. Okay, I mean,
I guess I physically,
you
I
keep
was
saying you knew that it wasn't healthy, and you knew it was contributing to something that wasn't good. And,
I think at the
but yet
time,
you guys continue to do it.
yeah, and part of my perspective now has to do with the fact that I'm going through a repentance process that I've worked out with, you know, with my bishop, and he's given me, you know, certain scriptures to read and ponder and pray about, and it brings me back to where I was prior to all that. I don't know how much I ever really was there as much as I am now, because even before I was baptized, even the 2 days before I was baptized, 4 days, it was on Wednesday and I was baptized on Sunday, before Thanksgiving, and it was just like Travis and I were making out, and you know, that was prior to, we hadn't gone all the way at that point, but it was just too far. And I called him that evening and I said how it felt different. The first few times was like, hey, that was great, you know, whatever. And then it just felt different this time, and it was right before I was about to be baptized, and you know, I already had my interview, and so it was like, it was just different. And he said, well, yeah, he's like, I feel the same way, and I think that's the Spirit, you know, telling us this, that, or the other. And so I think that by driving the Spirit away so much, you just get into this pattern of I don't know, it was convenient. There was a couple times where I didn't answer his text messages, and he would send me little sad faces, or eventually he would wait and then he would call, and he would call again, and if I didn't answer, he'd call 3 times.
And obviously you guys kept this relationship hidden from everybody else, and because nobody really knew about it.
Well,
there were some people who I talked to and said, yeah, they continued to have a relationship even after they broke up. And there are others who are saying that you had become obsessive with him to the point to where you would go into his house when he wasn't there, or when you weren't invited, and he would talk to people saying, you know, she just kind of showed up, and I don't want to tell her to leave, but you know, I don't want her here.
oh, must have been early on,
Yeah.
because there were a couple times when we established a rule early on, just don't come over unless, he said, you can come over anytime, but I need to know first.
Yes.
He's like, you just never know.
Because you ran into somebody one time, right? Didn't you run into like one of his ex-girlfriends as well, or was it Deanna that you ran into?
Oh yeah, well that was okay that I was there. He asked me to stay there and be with Napoleon, because that was during general conference in October of last year. He took a road trip with some friends from his church to Utah, and unless he's going to California, he pretty much leaves Napoleon at home. And so he needed someone to be there, and it's like I got full house privileges. I could sleep in the bed, I could eat food.
And I've talked to her, and she said that was kind of an unusual kind of situation. She didn't expect you to be there.
She didn't at all. And so at first I was like, did you give Deanna any flack over coming over unannounced? Because we had just set this rule.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I talked to her about it. He's like, but I'll tell you what, I was on the phone for 3 hours with her. She was freaking out that you were there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more people knew about us associating, the more stress we both got from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just easier to try and keep it a secret. And we didn't always do a good job at that. I think his roommates may have seen her and some things.
Mm-hmm.
But they were kind of kept to themselves types. So we didn't worry too much about them.
Okay.
There was actually one roommate, John Hepworth, who ended up remarrying his same wife and moved back to Utah. And I was cleaning his house one day, and John told me, he's like, Travis is dating. And I said, okay. And I assumed he was, going on dates and things. He's like, no, he's really trying to date. And I said, okay. And he's like, he's desperate to get married. And I said, I know, that's true. And he's like, I just wanted to tell you that because I don't think he's being honest with you. And I was like, okay. So that night, I confronted him about it, and we had a really big fight. And it was also, just a bunch of things were thrown in the mix together. And then he said, listen, I'm not dating anyone. But he was very angry at John for getting into his business. He told John in a very nice way, I think, hey, I know that you probably have good intentions, but just, mind your own business kind of thing. And from then on, I don't think John really said anything. And that was in October, I think.
You've kind of given me a really good rundown of your relationship and how you guys thought of each other and stuff. And I was pretty close to right on with my theory on how you guys, why you continued to see each other and what was going on during that time. I think there's some other things that you're not telling me. I think maybe the jealousy probably continued even after the fact that you moved away. For instance, was it the week of the first week of June? You took a trip to Salt Lake City. Remember that trip we talked about?
Oh, this year?
Yes.
I'm thinking back. Yeah.
You had left, I think it was like a Monday.
No, I left Monday, June 2nd.
Monday, June 2nd, in morning or afternoon or something, I can't remember what, late morning?
I think it was morning.
Okay, and you'd gone down to Redding and rented a car.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you rent that car?
The Redding Airport.
Okay, do you remember what car company it was?
I don't remember the rental company, but I remember the make and model. It was a Ford Focus.
Yeah, I got that from other people in Utah. They said you showed up in a Ford Focus.
It was white, 4-door. No cruise control. I like road trips. Cruise control is really good.
You don't remember what company it was? Who
Maybe.
rented it?
I did.
Was it with your credit card?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I could look it up.
And so
Maybe.
you took a trip and you decided to go to, instead of going over to Utah, you went straight out to Los Angeles area?
I went to Santa Cruz first.
Santa Cruz?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I stayed the night in Monterey. And the next day I drove to Pasadena,
Okay.
waiting for Laura to call me back.
You didn't contact her at all?
She contacted me finally after I'd already left LA.
It was too late, you'd already
Yeah,
left at that point.
and we had plans to do that again this
And
week.
which route did you take from there?
I was supposed to get on the 15 and go all the way up.
Mhm.
And I somehow got off the 15.
Where did you end up?
For a while I was lost, and I'm not above sleeping in the car, so I slept for a while.
Okay.
I'm a heavy sleeper and I sleep a lot, so.
But you were on the 15 for a while, and you ended up getting off the 15 somewhere?
Yeah, I looked at a map and I'm pretty sure I know where I went. Can I draw you a map?
Sure.
Because I eventually started seeing signs. for Phoenix, and I was like, and it was several hundred miles away still. I was like, that's weird. Where am I going? So you have California, Los Angeles, and Nevada, Arizona, Utah. And I was supposed to go somewhere right up here. Oh, I'm a lefty. So the 15 kind of does one of these.
Yeah. Goes through, let's say, Las Vegas right here.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, my
No,
map
that's
is
okay,
so wrong.
that's okay. So we'll just put
I
Las
know it
Vegas.
cuts through Arizona in the corner. Las Vegas, St. George is somewhere here. And then the 40 runs somewhere this way, because somehow I ended up on the 40. And when I saw the 40, I'm like, the only thing I associate with the 40 is Flagstaff, and Flagstaff is somewhere
Yeah,
north
Flagstaff
of
is
Utah.
right up here.
I mean, northern Arizona. And so, and I was going east, and I was like, what's going on here? I wasn't going the right way, and so I've had for the last 2 years, I've had a car that has a GPS system in it. It's really good, and I think it hasn't served me as far as getting a sense of direction. When I moved to Palm Desert,
Yeah, you kind of rely on it a little too much.
too much. In fact, when I moved in with the last place I lived in Arizona, I did not know how close it was to Travis. I didn't realize. I have a very bad sense of direction, and it wasn't until I used my GPS the whole time I was there, pretty much, just to find things. Anyway, so I got back. I looked at the MapQuest that I MapQuest a bunch of places. I was maybe going to go to Death Valley. I was maybe going to go.
Did you actually cross over into Arizona? Is that how far you went?
I crossed over twice, I think. But my map was wrong because the 93 goes north, and then I hit the 15 again, and then I got here, and then I hit Arizona, and then I'm here. Somehow I got north on the 93,
Okay.
and then I hit the 15. So, I mean, I don't know where Phoenix is, and Mesa, it's got to be over here.
Yeah.
I didn't go anywhere near there.
So you took this trip and you left on, was it Monday the 2nd? Right? And you didn't get to Utah until Thursday, you told me.
Yeah, I got to Utah on Thursday.
So Thursday, and that's the 5th?
Yeah, I think so.
Monday, that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, yeah, 5th. Okay, so we have, it's like 48 hours there that, well, obviously 3 days, but there's 48 hours. So this trip took you a little over 48 hours there. I have a problem with this trip.
Well, I
Okay.
went first too.
Yeah, I know. I know
Okay.
you went down here.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, Wairika, right there. Beautiful little place here, except it's kind of smoky. And
Yeah,
I can't
right
see
now.
the views. I was hoping to see some mountains, but
You really should
Can't
see
see.
Mount Shasta if you get a
okay.
chance.
I've gone over this trip over and over in my mind and on paper. And even if there's still 20 some odd hours, even if you pulled over to sleep a couple of times.
Oh, did I tell you that I got stranded?
Yeah,
Okay.
you mentioned that. If you slept for 10 hours
I only slept for about
here
8
and
hours.
here, it would still leave 18 some odd hours for something else. Okay. This is what people are focusing on, is this trip that you took. Because they're saying she left, she didn't get to till Thursday. Wednesday? That's when Travis was killed.
I did not go near his house. Aren't there?
I pulled your cell records. Your cell phone was turned off between here and here. Okay? But the last place it pulled it was here. The next place it turned on was here. What does that show me?
Oh, well, no.
Is there plenty of time for you to do that? Yes. And do I believe that you had come to visit Travis? Yes. I truly believe it. Did you have the opportunity? Yes. You were traveling alone. There's no other witnesses. Your phone just happened to turn off from here to here.
Well, I didn't turn it off physically, but it died.
And then it magically,
I got
you
it.
found your charger here?
It was packed under the seat of the passenger side. And it was when I was...
When you were lost, you couldn't have maybe pulled over and found it? Or?
Well, I did finally start looking when I was stranded. I wouldn't have pulled over when I was lost.
Okay, I've been focusing on this and going over and over in my mind why this happened. Why your phone turns off here outside of Los Angeles.
What city is that? Because I
Going
got
towards-
as far as
There's no cities, there's towers.
Oh, okay. Well,
Okay, there's towers dotted all over this place.
Yeah.
One tower hit here, the other tower here on the 93. There is no way somebody can get on that 15 and magically get on that 93. Because that 15 goes right through Las Vegas, right there. It continues this way. It never goes through Arizona again.
I got off before Las Vegas.
Okay.
I didn't get that
The
close.
15, you'd have to go to Las Vegas and then come down south, go through Boulder City.
I went through Boulder City going north.
Did you cross over the
I know.
dam?
Uh-huh.
You didn't think that was odd? You were crossing it over Arizona?
Well, after I figured out it was lost by then, and I found
Okay.
the 93 and then found my way back to the 15.
And this tower here, it's not just over the border in Arizona, it's quite a distance inside of Arizona that it hit. Because there's a mountain range all along here. And if you're on this side of the mountain range, pretty good distance, that signal's not going to hit Utah or Nevada or California. It's only going to hit in Arizona.
Well, I had somehow gotten off the 15 and got onto the 40. Is
Okay.
what happened.
Well, the only way you can get on the 40 is if after you cross the bridge or the dam,
I think
Hoover Dam,
I got on the 40 in California.
from the 15.
Well, because I actually began to drive to 10 West.
But you see what I'm saying, the
Because
confusion that we're having? And we'll come back to this.
Well, I got on the 40 somewhere over here.
In California.
Yeah, and continued to drive this way. Realized I was not in the right place at all. And then I got onto the 93 North. And then I hit the 15 again. And then I went through Las Vegas and then St. George and then on to Utah.
Okay. That still doesn't make any sense to me. And I can pull the maps and show them to you, and you can go over and over and over again. But I don't think you're being completely honest with me about that trip.
I honestly got lost. It's bad timing.
Were you at Travis's house on Wednesday?
Absolutely not. I was nowhere near Mesa. I was nowhere near
No.
Phoenix. I wasn't even close to him.
What if I could show you proof you were there? Will that change your mind?
I wasn't there.
You can be honest with me, Jodi.
I was not at Travis's house. Was not.
You were at Travis's house. You guys had a sexual encounter, which there's pictures. And I know you know there's pictures because I have them. I will show them to you. Okay? So, what I'm asking you is for you to be honest with me. I know you were there.
Are you sure those pictures aren't from another time?
Positive. Absolutely positive.
The last time I had any kind of sexual contact with Travis was in April.
Remember I told you about the camera?
Mm-hmm.
That camera was damaged. Someone put it in a washing machine, ran it through a wash cycle with some clothes of Travis's, but the card's intact. Remember I told you that card was destroyed? I didn't want to tell you the truth because I wanted to make sure those photos were accurate. And we can pull deleted photos. I don't care if you delete them 6 months ago. We can pull every photo that was ever on there. Pull the little pixels together. Get the timestamps on them. Not all of them, but most of them have timestamps on them. And we can verify those timestamps.
Mhm.
And I have pictures of you in Travis's bedroom with Travis. Pictures of him. And it's obvious you guys are having sex. Taking photos of each other. And they're dated and time-stamped on the day he died.
Are you sure it's me? I mean, that, because I was
Jodi,
not there.
It's you. And you know it's you.